Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about digital payment apps.
Okay.
Like Venmo, Apple Pay, Cash App.
Yeah, those are everywhere now.
They're so convenient,
For sure.
but are they really as safe and regulated as our good old banks?
That's the question, isn't it?
That's what we're going to dig into today.
I think a lot of people just assume they are.
Exactly. So let's break it down.
Sounds good.
First off, big news from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau,
The CFPB.
the CFPB. Yep. They just finalized a rule to keep a closer eye on these non-bank payment companies,
Interesting.
especially those handling a huge volume of transactions. Think like 50 million or more per year.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right. So this new rule puts them under basically the same level of scrutiny as traditional banks and credit unions.
Makes sense. These apps are handling serious money now.
Exactly. And the CFPB estimates these apps are processing over 13 billion consumer payment transactions every year.
That's like what? Almost 40 transactions per person in the US?
Pretty much. It just goes to show how these apps have become like a core part of our financial lives.
Yeah, they're not just a fun little extra anymore.
Definitely not. And CFPB Director Rohit Chopra actually said, digital payments have gone from novelty to necessity, and our oversight must reflect this reality.
I like that. From novelty to necessity.
Right. It really captures the shift.
Absolutely.
And this isn't just a U.S. thing either.
Oh, yeah.
It's happening globally.
Huh, interesting.
Like Brazil's antitrust regulator recently made a ruling against Apple.
What happened?
They're requiring Apple to allow other payment methods for in-app purchases.
So basically breaking Apple's control over how people pay within their ecosystem.
Exactly. So there's a definite movement happening worldwide to regulate big tech's influence on financial transactions.
Fascinating to see how that plays out.
Totally. So back to the CFPB rule.
Right.
What does this actually mean for these companies?
Well, think of it like this. They're under the microscope now.
Okay.
The CFPB can examine them, look into how they're handling things.
Like what kinds of things?
Everything.
Yeah.
How they're protecting our data, how they deal with fraud, how they manage accounts, you name it.
So making sure they're playing by the rules, basically.
Yep, holding them accountable to federal consumer protection laws.
So it's about making sure these apps are safe and fair for us, the users.
Exactly.
But of course, not everyone's thrilled about this new rule.
Oh, right. There's been some pushback.
The Financial Technology Association, which represents a lot of these payment providers,
Yeah, what's their take?
they're saying this rule's unnecessary.
What is that?
They argue that there are already regulations in place, and the number of consumer complaints is relatively low.
So they think it's overkill.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
They see it as potentially stifling innovation.
That's a valid concern.
It is. It's always a balancing act, right?
Yeah, you want to protect consumers, but also allow for progress.
Exactly. But the CFPB's stance is pretty clear. They say this rapidly changing digital payment landscape requires a proactive approach.
I can see their point.
And here's a big thing for everyone to think about.
Okay.
Unlike many traditional banks, these apps might not offer FDIC insurance.
Oh, right. That's important.
FDIC insurance protects your money in a bank up to a certain limit, even if the bank fails.
It's a safety net.
Right. But with these apps, you might not have that protection.
So if the company goes under, your money could be at risk.
Potentially, yeah. It's a trade-off to consider. Convenience versus security.
Definitely something to keep in mind as we use these apps more and more.
Especially as they potentially expand into offering more financial services.
Right. What happens then? Do the rules change?
Exactly. How do we regulate this evolving landscape without stifling innovation? Big questions for the future.
It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
For sure. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And we'll catch you next time.